Dr. Ben Bikman, a renowned metabolic health specialist, has fundamentally challenged the long-held idea that being overweight is simply a direct consequence of overeating or not exercising enough. In his view, the main driver of gaining weight is insulin. You could have all the hormones in your body and consume tens of thousands of calories a day, but if you remove just this one hormone, it's impossible for that person to become overweight. It's absolutely impossible. In his talks, he says, "As a scientist, I always strive to avoid using exaggerated words and never express anything in extreme terms. But in this case, I can truly say with absolute certainty that if you were to completely remove a person's insulin, it becomes impossible for them to gain any weight at all. Insulin itself is not our enemy. In fact, it is a vital and indispensable hormone for human health. The problem starts when insulin levels remain constantly high. That is exactly when the body shifts from burning energy to storing it. Even if we study humans themselves instead of just fat cells, we see that the strongest evidence supports this conclusion. As long as your insulin doesn't go up, you can't gain weight." The problem is that most people who are just starting to lose weight are often looking for quick results and want to fight high insulin with very radical and strange methods. For example, they might suddenly jump into extremely long periods of fasting or exhaust themselves with intense and grueling workouts, which ultimately really doesn't work in the long run. According to the research of Dr. Bickman, adopting extreme approaches can often do much more harm than good for a human body that simply isn't ready yet. Sudden, drastic changes or excessive amounts of physical strain cause significant internal stress, and this stress raises your cortisol levels. This is exactly where the main mistake happens. Beekman explains that high cortisol causes an insulin spike and gradually pushes cells toward insulin resistance. Cortisol activates an enzyme called glycogen phosphorylase. This is the very enzyme that your body needs to break apart those long chains of glucose molecules, which we call glycogen, and separate them out one by one. The overall effect of all this, whether it's the breaking down of glycogen or the entire complex process of gluconeogenesis, which is making new sugar from carbons, is that the body wants to make absolutely sure that in any stressful situation, energy in the form of glucose is readily available. Now, this stress could be something seemingly simple like fasting or perhaps a long workout. So it's much better to start simple, and more importantly, it is easy. Dr. Bickman frequently emphasizes the idea that the process of weight loss only works when it doesn't feel like a punishment. If it's unpleasant, it simply won't last. Start with small and manageable steps. Take another careful look at exactly what makes up each of your daily meals. Recent research shows that nowadays, approximately 90% of people gain weight simply because they eat far too frequently throughout the day. If you find that you are constantly eating, it likely means you are choosing the wrong types of foods. Each meal should include specific things that take a significant amount of time to digest physically, meaning high-quality protein, healthy fiber, and essential fats. The crucial thing to understand is that these food combinations do not cause a biochemical insulin spike in your body, and at the same time they effectively activate satiety hormones like GLP-1. If you consistently plan your daily meals based on this principle, something quite interesting happens. Without even trying to diet, you simply start eating less food. The key point to remember is that you don't need to force yourself to eat less. Your body naturally does it for you. Please don't make the mistake of choosing low-calorie food as the very first step in your journey to shrinking those fat cells, because you will quickly find that intense hunger always wins in the end, and you'll just end up right back where you started. Instead, make this your primary first step. I want to focus on lowering my insulin levels, because when you lower your insulin levels, you really don't have to worry about feeling hungry at all. I'm honestly telling you, you can eat as much protein and fat as you want, because these nutrients have very little or absolutely no effect on your insulin. So whenever you're feeling hungry, eat something that has protein and fat. And whenever you're not feeling hungry, simply don't eat. This method isn't about deprivation or starving yourself, but a low-calorie diet is pure hunger. With that, you're going to be hungry all the time. You don't have to completely cut out carbohydrates, especially sweets. These types of radical dietary restrictions only create unnecessary stress and sooner or later lead to overeating. The smart move is to approach these things scientifically. Don't eat carbohydrates by themselves and don't consider them as a snack either. Let carbohydrates be part of a complete meal and eat them after protein and fat. This physically slows down digestion. Glucose enters the bloodstream much more slowly, which means insulin doesn't spike. With this kind of hormonal response over time, it becomes easier for you to naturally reduce carbohydrates because real satiety takes their place. You no longer have to force yourself not to eat. Instead, you just don't feel that previous craving and desire anymore. One thing Dr. Bickman is really strict about is dinner. Carbohydrates should never be eaten late at night, as many believe. Dinner should be eaten early and it shouldn't cause a spike in blood sugar. You must strictly avoid consuming snacks late at night. Take every possible measure available to you to avoid overeating, and ensure you don't go to bed with high or spiked blood sugar levels. Nighttime is when most people are at their weakest. You and I might walk past a bunch of sweets all day without feeling tempted at all, but suddenly at 7 or 8 in the evening, we crave them. That's human nature. But that's actually the worst possible time, because when you go to bed with high blood sugar, a part of your nervous system called the sympathetic system gets activated, which is the same fight or flight system. It's like when we hear the sound of a car crash or a gunshot, and suddenly our heart starts to beat much faster, our body temperature rises, and we become quite agitated. Having high blood sugar has exactly the same effect. This is the worst possible time because when you're going to sleep, you need your parasympathetic system, which is calming, to be activated. That's the one that lowers your heart rate, calms your heart, reduces your blood pressure, and helps you sleep deeply. Too much sugar does the exact opposite of all that. Then you find yourself lying in bed, wondering why your heart is beating so fast and why you feel so hot and restless. The reason is simply that sugar that's been messing with your blood sugar. Healthy sleep is another simple yet vital part of any weight loss program. Dr. Bickman emphasizes this for a very good reason. Poor sleep leads to insulin chaos. Even just one single night of poor sleep can make your body insulin resistant the very next day. You could have a great diet, but just 4 hours of sleep can ruin all of your hard work. Beekman refers to a study where people were limited to 5 hours of sleep per day for several days, and then their insulin sensitivity and hormones were checked again. First of all, they checked the hormones. For those interested in statistics, you should know that the differences were dramatic. Cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine had increased significantly. Remember that cortisol is a glucocorticoid, which means its main job is to raise glucose levels. Now, a battle breaks out between insulin and cortisol. Cortisol raises blood sugar, while insulin tries to bring it down. This is a vicious cycle. As long as cortisol keeps pushing, insulin is forced to work harder and harder, and its effect diminishes. You saw in the charts that from the very first moments, the cortisol levels in these people were much higher than when they had a full night's sleep. Even at some hours, it had doubled. In the end, using the hyperinsulinemic clamp test, which is the most accurate measurement method, it was proven that insulin sensitivity in these individuals was severely impaired. So just a few days of sleep deprivation, sleeping only 5 hours a night, is enough to raise stress hormones and make insulin stop working properly. We need to understand that improving sleep quality doesn't just mean staying in bed longer or taking sleeping pills. Good sleep is different from being extremely tired. Sleep is a physiological signal and can only be achieved through physiological inputs. For example, a cold shower in the morning has an excellent stimulating effect. A brief shock with cold water suddenly boosts your daytime alertness, reduces daytime drowsiness, and resets your body's circadian rhythm. At night, sauna can also be very beneficial. The key effect of the sauna is that it significantly raises your core body temperature and then allows it to cool down quickly. It's a kind of controlled physiological shock. As a result, the body falls asleep faster, experiences deeper sleep, and the deep sleep stage lasts longer. Many people have noticed that after using the sauna, not only is their sleep heavier, but it's also a deep and restful sleep without constantly waking up or tossing and turning. Another underrated tool is taking a gentle walk after dinner. This action gently lowers evening insulin because the muscles absorb glucose without causing hormone spikes. It also calms the nervous system without raising cortisol and creates a natural drop in body temperature. After some light activity, the body cools down and receives a clear signal that it's time to sleep. Look at weight loss and slimming as something easy because only then will it be healthy and truly effective. Thank you for staying with me until the end of the video. Please don't forget to like and comment. Watch these videos as well for more information. Until the next video, take care.